Next on Investigative Report. Inconvenient passengers. Moms who lock their kids in hot cars. In our quaint childhood memories, we think of mom as the person who teaches us to ride a bike when dad is absent. She is expected to enjoy the sports activities we love, even if they are strange to her way of life. Moms will take their children with them wherever they go, especially if they don't have the benefit of a family member or a babysitter. But then there are mothers who use locked cars and 100-degree parking lots to babysit their infant children. Bystanders who happen upon these overheated children and vehicles call 911 to report these incidents each day across America. Unfortunately, what these women are not aware of is that it takes less than 15 minutes in an already overheated car to receive brain damage or expire from a heat-related injury. And now, inconvenient passengers, moms who lock their kids in hot cars. On average, parents bury a child as a result of a hot car death every 10 days in America. Annually, 38 children under the age of 15 years die each year from heat stroke after being left in an unattended vehicle. Nearly every state in the union has experienced at least one hot car death since the year 1998, with southern states leading these tragic circumstances. Studies have shown that a child's body temperature rises 3 to 5 times faster than an adult's. When a child is left unattended in a hot vehicle, their temperature tends to rise quickly and to dangerous levels. Heat stroke begins when the core body temperature reaches about 104 degrees. According to American Academy of Pediatrics, on a 70-degree day, a parked car's interior can climb to deadly temperatures in less than 30 minutes. Health consequences on a day when temperatures exceed 100 degrees can escalate even faster, and a young child can suffer from heat stroke or die. As you can see by this map, the lower you fall in the United States, the more likely the chance of a child dying of a hot car death. But who are the parents that leave their children alone in a car? Are they parents who do not care? Or perhaps they are parents of lesser means? Investigative Report finds that there is no correlation between income, education, or status when leaving a child unattended in a hot vehicle. Car deaths occur across the complete spectrum of culture, religion, and income in 50 states and around the world. For current statistics on infant mortality, Investigative Report sought out Kids in Cars, which lists infant deaths by state. Topping that list is the southern state of Texas, based on the region's extreme heat index. But the fact that we see hot car deaths in cooler states insists that even a cooler climate is subject to extreme conditions. One such southern state car death that gained national attention was when a mother, busy running birthday errands in this upscale community, accidentally forgot about her 5-year-old boy in the back seat of this Porsche SUV. The boy would tragically succumb to heat stroke after being locked in the car for 3 hours in 100-degree heat in his own driveway. Here is that tragic story from a local NBC News affiliate.
Child left in a hot car has died.
And investigators say the 5-year-old boy was in the car for hours. Keep in mind, this was a day when the temperature hit 102 degrees. And that family tragedy unfolding on Blair Hill and Hunters Lake Way, just outside of the Beltway. So let's get right to KPRC2's Taisha Walker for the very latest from that scene. Taisha.
Daniela, the medical examiner's office just left with that child's body a short time ago. You could see right behind me investigators by the house. You could see the black SUV with the doors open. That is the vehicle in which the 5-year-old child died, likely from a heat stroke. With the temperatures being over 100 degrees today, it only takes about 10 minutes for a car to heat up to reach 113 degrees inside. We have video which shows you what this scene looked like a little bit earlier. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says a 5-year-old boy was left alone in the hot vehicle for about 2 to 3 hours. Gonzalez says a mom, the 5-year-old, and an 8-year-old sibling were running errands, preparing for a birthday party. The mom and older sibling were the only ones that got out of the car. Sheriff Gonzalez says the mother told him that the 5-year-old typically knows how to unbuckle himself and get out of the vehicle, but perhaps he didn't this time, being unfamiliar with the loaner vehicle that they were riding in. The sheriff says by the time the mother realized that she had not seen the little boy close to 2 p.m., she ran out to the vehicle and discovered that her son was still strapped into his car seat in the back of the vehicle.
And obviously, with this kind of heat, a child's body heat goes up 3 to 5 times faster than for adults. So after about 104 degrees, a child could suffer heat stroke.
Sheriff Gonzalez tells us that they are in contact with the Harris County District Attorney's Office to see if any charges are warranted. That's the latest information that we have here in Northeast Harris County. Reporting live, Taisha Walker, KPRC 2 News.
Fortunately, every child that is trapped in one of these metal infernos does not succumb to heat stroke. But this group of survivors is more susceptible to the lingering effects of heat exposure. The National Library of Medicine looked at 3 children who were entrapped inside vehicles and did not die from heat stroke. The children's cognitive outcome following the incidents was assessed in a recent report. The children who survived heat stroke ended up in a coma for several days and with severe cognitive function impairment. 2 of the children were left with hyperactivity and attention deficit disorder, while the third had active epilepsy. Vehicular entrapment heat stroke is one of the preventable brain injuries in infants. If you should come upon a vehicle with a child in heat distress and all the windows are up, here's what to look for as informed by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the medical community. When you come upon a child in a vehicle, know that they may appear weak, collapsed, or be unconscious. As the child's body warms, their organ function may become impaired and their blood pressure may drop. Oxygen flow to the brain will slowly decrease before coming to a stop. In the final stage of heat stroke, the central nervous system will begin to be dysfunctional. The child's organs will start to fail, and the brain will swell, eventually leading to coma and death. Local authorities ask us long before this point to either call 911 or do what we can to extract the child from the vehicle. Several states have already passed legislation authorizing breaking the windows to extricate the child. A very wise woman once said to me that whatever service you offer outside of your home is a service that your home will be lacking. Such was the case of one woman who was a daycare provider but neglected to take care of the child in her care. Instead of taking the child to daycare with her, she left him in the car for the duration of her 5-hour shift in stifling heat. We give you that story now, as reported by a local ABC affiliate.
That little boy left in a car outside a daycare center where his sister works.
ABC Action News reporter Ryan Smith has been following this story all day long. Ryan, what have you learned tonight?
The daycare tonight remembering Jacob by posting this heartfelt message right behind me here outside BFF Kids. But take a look to the left. I want to point your attention to another sign, an important reminder for parents and guardians to never leave a child in the car. Look before you lock. The toddler left in stifling heat, locked inside an SUV for more than 5 hours. Investigators say Jacob Manchego's half-sister left the 2-year-old behind as she went into work at BFF Kids.
I see the lady running from the car with the baby's limp. Looked like she was trying to get some help for the baby.
Detectives are trying to figure out if Fiorella Silva Tella routinely took Jacob to work with her. Jessica Smith's daughters go to BFF Kids for childcare, but that may change after today's devastating loss.
I don't want to bring my daughter back. How can you let that happen?
The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office says when Silvatella saw the child, she ran her 2-year-old half-brother into a nearby dialysis center for help.
How can you forget about a kid being in your car? I don't care how busy you are, or how little sleep you get, how stressed you are.
Medics rushed him to a hospital where he later died. Temps reached 86 degrees and would have climbed to triple digits very quickly inside a car with no air. BFF Kids tonight did not want to comment to us in person, but later tonight posted this statement outside their building. It reads in part that they are praying tonight for Jacob's family, and his sister simply made a tragic mistake. Now tonight, investigators have not said if she will face any criminal charges. Live in Brandon, Ryan Smith, ABC Action News.
The highest statistics for children perishing in hot cars were recorded in both 2018 and 2019, when a record number of 53 children died. Since the U.S. has been tracking these deaths in 1990, more than 1,050 children have died from heat stroke and hot cars, and at least another 7,300 survive with varying types of severities of injuries. In comparison, the country of China, with a population 4 times the size of the United States, has achieved less than half that number over the same time period. To date, there is no accounting why a mother would leave her child in a car, but here are some of the reasons we are familiar with. On average, a greater majority, or 56% of parents, say that they have left their children in hot cars by accident. 1/4 of the parents say their child got into the vehicle on their own, while only 15% were willing to say they purposely left their child in the car. This brings us to our next story of a female police officer who left her child in her cruiser while having sex with her male supervisor in his house. Here is that story from News 4 Jax.
The father is speaking out about his 3-year-old daughter who died in a hot car. Police say the child's mother, a former Mississippi police officer, left the girl in her patrol car for hours while she went to have sex with a supervisor. We learned today Cassie Barker has been sentenced to 20 years in prison. News 4 Jax reporter Scott Johnson joins us live from the cemetery in Arlington where that little girl is buried. Scott.
Yeah, this is the sad ending to the case that happened there. Now the little girl's mother will be spending 20 years behind bars for manslaughter. Ryan Heyer read a statement in court yesterday describing how the tragic death of his young daughter Cheyenne has impacted him.
It was very difficult. I've been waiting for 2.5 years for this to be over with. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. She didn't really say much. I mean, it was really difficult.
Cassie Barker will now spend 2 decades in prison with no chance of parole on manslaughter charges. A plea deal was reached, downgrading her charges from second-degree murder.
It doesn't get easier. In an aspect, I have this burden off my shoulder. It still doesn't bring my daughter back, but I can start moving forward now, knowing that justice has been served.
Heyer isn't finished with the legal system. He's also suing the police department that Barker worked for, the Long Beach Police Department, and Child Protective Services in Mississippi, because he says Barker had been arrested for this only months before his daughter's death for the same crime, leaving her daughter in a car while going in a store.
She was arrested, the state took my daughter, and her police chief went and got her out of jail. Within 24 hours, she had my daughter back, and I was never notified. And disciplinary action, I have no idea. She still had her job.
And he tells me that the lawsuits against the police department and CPS will really now get underway in Mississippi. They've been kind of on hold while Barker's criminal proceedings were still underway. We're live in Arlington, Scott Johnson, Channel 4, the local station.
Globally, vehicular heat stroke is largely misunderstood by the general public. The majority of parents are misinformed and would like to believe that they could never forget about their child in a vehicle. The most dangerous mistake a parent or caregiver can make is to think that leaving a child alone in a vehicle could never happen to them or their family. In essence, these are the things that happen to other people, other bad people, but nothing could be further from the truth. As I mentioned previously, the majority of these cases came from the person responsible for the child's well-being who unknowingly left them in the vehicle. In most situations, this happens to the most loving caring, and protective parents. Amongst these are a teacher, a dentist, a social worker, a nurse, a clergyman, a soldier, and even a NASA rocket scientist. That's right, I said a rocket scientist in the very parking lot of a government facility where they worked. The child's body was found in a car parked outside Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, where temperatures soared that day to over 90 degrees. A NASA spokeswoman by the name of Jennifer Stanfield reported that the parent involved intended to drop the baby off at the NASA location's Child Care Center, but forgot and went straight to work instead. And then there are the other heinous appearing cases. Cases where the child's death may have been an accident, but covered up after the fact, or delays made in taking him to the hospital where they could have received further attention. Incidents such as these can appear especially cruel, as exemplified by the mother in this next case.
DeKalb County police say a mother is now under arrest for the death of her baby girl. Investigators say she died in a hot car while her mother was inside at a hair appointment. They say this happened last month. 11 Live's Faith Abube joins us now with more.
Yeah, but that's not what the 25-year-old mom told police. Instead, officers spent the last 4 weeks piecing together what they believe actually happened to 13-month-old Skylar. Officers were called to the Emory University Hospital parking deck the afternoon of June 15th. Well, they say the call came in as a woman in medical distress having a seizure. First responders found Fowler at the scene and started treating her and found the child in the backseat unresponsive. Officers say the child had actually been dead longer than that. They say around 10 o'clock that morning. Video shows Fowler going into a salon at the North Lake Festival Shopping Plaza in Tucker. She was getting her hair done and didn't come back out of that salon until about 4 p.m. Police say she had left the car running, but it went off and the child was in there and was already dead by the time she came out. Instead of calling police say that she asked someone to help her jumpstart her car and then Googled signs of seizures, texted the child's godfather saying she was going to urgent care for headaches, and drove to Emory University Hospital, which is where she called 911 from the parking deck. Police say Fowler tried to cover the child's body with clothes so the person who helped jumpstart her car wouldn't notice.
That's part of the reason why she was charged with murder in the second degree, cruelty to children in the second degree, and concealing a death. I don't believe it was intentional. It seems that it was an accident. However, with that in mind, there's consequences that come with that.
While Skylar has been buried, her body was taken back to South Carolina, where her family is from. Police say the mother had only been here in the area for a few months when Skylar died. She's in jail tonight without bond.
Do you remember how it felt when you open up your car after sitting in the heat for hours on the hottest day of the year? This is known as the greenhouse effect in vehicles. During the greenhouse effect, know that the inside of the car heats up very quickly. Even with the windows cracked, the temperature inside a car can reach 125 degrees in minutes. Be mindful that 80% of the increase in temperature happens in the first 10 minutes after you close the door. And also that, contrary to popular belief, cracking the windows does not help slow the heating process or decrease the maximum temperature. The following video from the Weather Channel emphasizes how deadly a hot car incident can become.
Of all child vehicular heat stroke deaths, 54% of them were caused by parents unknowingly leaving their child in the car. It is important to look before you lock. On a sunny 85-degree day, the inside of your car can reach nearly 119 degrees in just 30 minutes. This has to do with the type of radiation that is being emitted. The sun emits visible light in the form of short wavelengths. These wavelengths can pass through glass windows and get absorbed by the car's interior, causing it to heat up and warm the air in the car. The interior, however, emits long-wave radiation. These wavelengths cannot pass through windows. Therefore, the radiation gets trapped inside and accelerates the warming. If you see a child or pet left in a car, don't wait for the driver to get back. Call 911 immediately, and they'll give you instructions. If the child or pet is unresponsive, remove them from the vehicle by any means necessary. Never leave a child alone in the car, not even for a minute. Open the back door every time you park. To remind you, put something you need back there to start your day, like a handbag or employee badge. Keep vehicles locked even when in the driveway or garage. Kids can get themselves locked in, but may not be able to get back out. Teach children to honk the horn if they become stuck inside a car. These are just a few things you can do to prevent the risk of hot car deaths.
As we close this edition of the Investigative Report, we hope to inspire you to get involved when you see a child or an animal in an overheated car. If there is such a thing as perfect timing, I would guarantee you that you will come across a child left in a hot car this week. Our remaining two videos involve little heroes. One is a police officer who was called out to an apartment complex on a hot car incident, and the other is two strangers who came about a baby in a large department store parking lot in distress. The first case involves the moment a police officer rescued an unconscious toddler who spent more than 12 hours locked in a boiling hot car after her mother left her strapped in a car overnight following an alcohol run. Police say the girl's mother, 38-year-old Casey Deanne Keller, had driven with 3 children to the liquor store the night before, but forgot to take her 3-year-old daughter out of the car when they returned home. When Mrs. Keller awoke the next morning and realized the girl was missing, she called the police to report that her car had been stolen with the child inside. But this was a lie. Officers arrived at the Vista Haven apartment complex where the family lived and discovered the little girl still strapped inside Miss Keller's vehicle, unconscious and close to death. Dramatic dashcam footage shows a distressed Seminole County deputy, Bill Dunn, running with the limp-bodied girl in his arms before butting her into an air-conditioned police car. The next day, Miss Keller was charged with child neglect with great bodily harm and was held at John E. Polk Correctional Facility on a $15,000 bail.
It's late morning on Father's Day. Deputy Bill Dunn, a father himself, has just discovered a 3-year-old girl left inside a car which by this time was sweltering.
I mean, you go from, it was probably 80 degrees outside to where you have 109, 110 degree steam just rushing out at you.
When you opened that car?
When I opened the car door. Sadly, I didn't think that she was alive when I got to her. I felt for a pulse. I didn't feel a pulse.
He rushed the child to his cruiser and turned on the air conditioning.
Sweetie?
Faint signs of life started to return.
Once the cold air hit her, that's when I started noticing her eyes kind of fluttering.
2630, I'm trying to take her to CFR. Since this was not originally a medical call, there was no ambulance on the scene and no time to wait. Dunn took off for the hospital with the little girl lying next to it, encouraging her back to consciousness.
It's okay, baby. Talk to me. You're okay. I remember one thing distinctively was my hand on her chest and feeling her heart racing. It was beating real fast.
But that was a good thing.
Absolutely. She got a heartbeat.
At the hospital trauma room, the medical team was ready and waiting. After dropping off the child, there was nothing more Dunn could do. He walked out to his patrol car and slumped over.
My legs were a little weak. It's a heck of a thing to experience that adrenaline dump, and then when it finally all goes away, how it really does affect your body.
The sad reality is 36 children across America die in hot cars every year. 3 days later, this little girl was out of the hospital, and Deputy Dunn had a chance to meet her.
It meant everything to me. I was so happy I was able to do that.
Now, weeks later, Dunn sees this episode as the worst of what he has to face on the job, becoming the best.
Sometimes we're able to have a moment like this that makes it all worthwhile.
Quick thinking Good Samaritans to the rescue in New Jersey. They spot a child alone in a hot car. Instead of standing around, they broke the window of the car and got the child to safety. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Heidegger has details on the shoppers who helped save a life.
The parking lot was about like this.
Sarah Mazzone went to Kohl's to buy a few t-shirts, but wound up saving a baby's life.
I hear some faint crying.
It was just after noon yesterday, a hot summer day, when she followed the sound in this Howell Township parking lot and found a 4-month-old baby girl strapped in her car seat under a blanket in a locked car with the windows rolled up tight.
Then I started to panic.
And got the attention of Steve Eckel.
She said, "Oh my God." So when I turned to see what "oh my God" was,
I said, "There's a baby locked in the car. We need to get help right away."
and it was screaming, hands are out, sweating.
Breathing quickly, hyperventilating, and was clearly in distress.
And then I remembered I had the sledgehammer back in my car. I just went to bash the window, and it bounced off 3 times. And I said, I got to hit it in the corner. What am I doing? So I went around to the other side, and I just hit it at the corner, and it shattered the whole window.
I took all of her clothes off, which were soaking wet, and started to cool her down.
I have a 1-year-old daughter, and I think about her crying in the heat and suffering and possibly nearly dying over something like that. It's shocking to your conscience.
By the time police responded, the 2 Good Samaritans had carried the baby into the air-conditioned store. That's when the mother, 33-year-old Karen Gruen, emerged after 40 minutes inside.
She walked up, and the cops didn't say anything to her, and all of a sudden she just said, "Where's my baby?"
Cops charged her with endangering the welfare of a child. They called her husband, who took the baby back home to Lakewood, where no one came to the door tonight.
I'm glad that the baby was okay, and that's really what was important.
And she might not be alive if not for 2 strangers who became heroes. In Howell, Monmouth County, Josh Einiger, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Yeah, those 2 little girls sat in their car seats for 40 minutes outside the Walmart Supercenter of I-240. Now, with temperatures reaching over 100 degrees yesterday, inside that car, it could easily be over 130 degrees. At 2:22 yesterday, a mom walked into Walmart while her 2 toddlers were left in the hot car. 40 minutes later, she walked out to find her car surrounded by officers.
Is that you? Yes. Are you mom? Yes. Okay. No. It doesn't matter. How old are you out here? It doesn't.
Oklahoma City police say a stranger saw the 2-year-olds unconscious in the back and took action.
Actually forced their way into the sunroof, unlocked the doors, got the kids out of the car. They were lethargic at the time.
A Walmart security officer put the kids into her air-conditioned car. Police say the store made numerous intercom announcements repeating the vehicle's tag number, but no one ever came out.
It doesn't matter how important your errand is, those kids are the most important thing, or at least they should be.
Oklahoma Institute for Child Advocacy says if you see a child locked in a hot car, don't hesitate.
They are not only well within their right to go through the car, even if it damages the car. I would say it's encouraged to make sure that those kids are safe. For a parent or guardian, just to think that they would leave their kids in a car on a hot day like that, it's just astounding.
Now, those 2 little girls are expected to be okay. Police say they are with family members right now, and mom now faces 2 complaints of child neglect.
And we're clear.